YouTube. Camera looks good. Let me get my script out here, and then I guess we can hit go here pretty good soon. In 3, 2, 1. Good morning, good afternoon, and good whatever time it is, and welcome to the final episode of Trevantine. It hurts to say, man, but it's the final episode. It's the last one last ride. You know what I'm saying? Decided to dress up a little bit today. Return back to my more calm, naturist roots that I had in the first episode. And, just I can recall the time I had alongside, just wrap up my final thoughts and opinions about how my life's been and explain why I'm ending it, what I'm doing now with my life, because technically the whole world's not open yet, but Liberty, Missouri is. So I guess just getting right into it, we can start off talking about still the three main subjects we talked about. Hold on. I completely threw out my intro. This is the podcast in which you get to hear the thoughts, feelings, and emotions of an 18-year-old senior in high school being affected by the coronavirus. So in this podcast, we have three different segments. First segment being, we talk about the headlines for today, really just get a good log about it. And then we get to move on to the second segment where I talk about what I'm doing today, what I did yesterday / the weekend. And then 3, talk about how coronavirus and the quarantine has affected us. In this case, I'll explain why I'm wrapping things up, while everything is going down, and just why I'm ending this podcast. So let's go right into the news, the boring part real quick. Starting off, I'm just going to go. Okay, so let me rewind this. I watched my first podcast this morning and realized how much I've changed in the podcast alongside how much the show has changed. And I would say it's evolved definitely. If you look at it, the production's increased. I got lights. I got a cool set. I got a freaking mic arm. I used to have a pop filter, but the pop filter fell off and it just won't stay. So I got to fix that pretty soon. And just like the overall format has been improved, I would say. It's not me sitting on my couch anymore with a sound mixer and then sort of cables jerry-rigged into my phone so I could play voice memos. Anyways, that's not what we're talking about right now. I'll talk about that in the third segment. But real quick, just reading off the headlines coming from the New York Times as of 20 minutes ago. It says the Trump administration projects about 3,000 daily deaths in early June. Not a great stat to read. Also, like I said, I'm making this podcast go full circle. So I'm just going to read the headlines and elaborate a little bit on it, but I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty details about it. So second headline we have is stepped up to criticism of China, part of the international backlash over the outbreak. Trump stepped up. Yeah, so he's going to defend, I guess, China. I mean, they're both in the same boat when it comes to not doing enough to prevent it early enough. And a lot of their citizens are pointing the blame China a lot more. I don't know how that's working out. I'm not a Chinese citizen, but I don't know. I'm glad I'm in the United States and not in China during this time. The Supreme Court heard the first arguments via phone. Something intriguing. Obviously, they don't want an entire Supreme Court all into one room where like they could spread the coronavirus, so that's a good thing. J. Crew becomes the first major retailer to declare bankruptcy, and Disney's empire faces vast changes. I'm actually going to click on that because I don't know what that means, and it's a very clickbaity title. But before we go into that, the House Republicans agitate for a full reopening of Congress and the Senate as they plan to reconvene. Yeah, obviously, we want to try and reopen our country, and that's their steps and their ways of doing it. The FDA says companies selling antibody tests must prove accuracy within 10 days. Obviously, I'm glad that the Food and Drug Administration is doing something to, regulate food and drugs. They're doing their job to make sure they're not just selling witchcraft in bottles to people. And the last headline we have is more states are allowing certain businesses to reopen up, which would be a great transition, but my dummy head decided to go into this J. Crew headline. And what does it talk about Disney? Because that's actually interesting. It says Disney's 15 theme parks annual attendance is 150 I can't read. 57 million people delivered record profits in 2019, but they are now padlocked. It's movie studios. There are 8 controlled by a staggering 40% of the domestic box office as of last year, are now sitting near still. And analysis are expecting per share profits of 88 cents down to 45 cents. For the great of the good to the bad to the ugly, Michael Nathanson, a leading media analyst, wrote in a report that Disney's extreme reversal in fortunes recessions cause further planned issues. All right, so that was boring. That was just exactly what I said it was, clickbait. But anyways, yeah, I just read the headlines. That last headline where they talked about how many states are wanting businesses to reopen is definitely a great segue into the second part. And the second part, really just what I've been up to lately, what I've been doing during this time. And this time's been, I don't want to say hectic, but it's been better than the last 5 weeks have been. What are we, 6 weeks? We're like week 6 of quarantine now. Basically, to give a quick summary, let's see. Thursday, we had a movie night. This started off on Wednesday last week. Wednesday, we went longboarding / skateboarding. Maybe. I think I'm mixing up my days now. Oh well, whatever. We went longboarding, skateboarding. Then we had a movie night on Thursday. Friday, we did more longboarding and skateboarding. Saturday was more longboarding and skateboarding alongside a pool. Friday, we also had our Liberty North Friday Night Lights thing where we all hung out at the school. And then we eventually just moved on to the Pleasant Valley Church. And we chilled out and we just talked. You know, it's great to just circle up with your friends and talk and then experience good times again, because like, you know, we've been in our houses for so long. It's been tough to be with our friends, but luckily they're slowly letting up on the restrictions in Clay County. The quarantine or the stay-at-home order actually got like lifted at like midnight yesterday, so today is like our first day without it. But like, you know, the thinking is what's 2 days going to make a difference? So that's just me thinking out loud. But yeah, today is May 4th 2020. I've been doing a lot of stuff, being out, being very social. We had a little pool party yesterday at my friend Emily's old house. We also had a fire pit and we just like had s'mores and stuff. And you know, it was a great time, and I'm so glad that life is not turning back to normal, but it is slowly returning back to a normal stage. I also went to Academy the other day. I got new shorts, new shoes, because my running shoes that I've been running in every day are just decimated. There's literally no tread on the bottom of it. It's just like smooth. But yeah, I went to Academy and that was really weird. And yeah, that's basically been my week. It's been very un-quarantine like. So I figured that worked perfectly into why I should go into ending this podcast. So this podcast has obviously been a great ride for me. I started this podcast the day I got back from Table Rock Lake. The day that things started getting really, really real. It was like a couple days after, and you know, it struck me as the perfect time to make a podcast, or really just a video log of where I could talk about the thoughts and the feelings and emotions of what a kid like me is going through, you know, especially during a time of their most social point in their lives, when they're out with friends every day. We're missing prom, graduation, all that other stuff. And I thought it was an awesome time to talk about how it's affecting me, how my mind is working during this, and then just how life has been different. But now life is slowly returning back to normal. We're able to hang out with friends again if it's a group less than 25 people. Stores are starting to reopen. People are obviously going to be cautious. People are still wearing masks and stuff, but it's just a great opportunity to say that I think I can finally move on. These last 4 days of my life haven't seemed like quarantine. I have been able to go out. I've been able to get fresh air. Luckily, it's been beautiful weather here in Missouri, and you know, I think it's time for me to move on to better things. Not better things. This is a great thing, but move on to little more passion project things. Let me tighten up a little bit so we can get nice and emotional with you here. But yeah, I started this podcast on March 18th, 2020. A day I will forever be in my heart. A day that has forever changed my life. Not really changed my life, but a little day that's impacted me in the case of now I could say I've ran a successful or semi-successful podcast for 36 episodes, basically daily. I've missed a day or two because I got busy, or I got lazy, honestly. And that's another contributing factor on why I'm closing and canceling Trevantine. Not canceling, I should say retiring. Because I can always unretire, but I can't uncancel a show. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I've just written down a bunch of speaking points I want to talk about. And yeah, it's been a great ride. Like I said earlier, I watched the first episode for like the first time in a long time, since really March 18th, whenever I posted it. And I'm really proud of my consistency and my how much I've grown. This is just going to be me flexing about myself. So if you don't really care, don't listen. But you know, I think this is a great way to end it. And just to recap how much this podcast has grown and how much I've grown with this podcast. But going through it, I'm just impressed, because I started as just not a pre-recorded thing where I was literally on my couch, the couch that's like to the left of me right now. Excuse my dryer's going off right now. But I started on my couch. I had my nice fancy soundboard. I had my nice microphones. And like, I'm going to be honest with you guys, it probably sounded 1,000 times better than it does now. It probably looks 1,000 times better than it does now, just because I was able to cut out stuff I didn't want. I was able to edit my voice a little more. The soundboard's obviously professional, like grade sound recording stuff, and not just a Blue Yeti microphone that anybody can get off the streets. It wasn't also live. I think when you do it live and it like saves it and records it, the compression rate's horrible. It only saves at 720p, so that was kind of a disappointer to me, a bummer to me. That's why like the first 4 or 5 episodes were really, really great quality, because like I could just upload it and then I didn't have to worry about the compression rate on being live or anything. But yeah, I started with a soundboard, a couch, voice memos. I remember this. Once I said and decided that I was going to do this podcast, I sent it out into the KNET group chat, and only like 2 people sent me voice memos, which kind of disappointed. It's kind of fake, guys. I'm just saying. But that's besides the point. I'm really not mad. And you know, I just liked getting input. And 2 people responded. I put them in the show, and I think it tied things together really, really well. And then the second episode, I started doing live interviews, and the live interviews were great. One of the most shocking things I think I forgot about that first episode was I was still doing stuff in public. Maybe I wasn't going to stores, maybe I wasn't going to school, but like I was at Emily's house still working out. We were still together as a group. We were watching movies still and stuff. But I guess you really get to see throughout this whole trip, really, the whole progression. Sorry, this doesn't seem really laid out and formulaic real quick. I'm going to go all off the walls on this podcast. But I really just wrote a bunch of speaking points, and I'll go off of it. But this is just me thinking off the top of my head, speaking from the heart, really. And, you know, I just want to say that this podcast was fantastic, because it really shows how much life has changed in the last 7 weeks or so. And I think looking back on it, it's going to be a great thing that I've done this podcast. But yeah, like I was saying, I'm just really proud of how much I've grown in this. I started with a piece of paper. Obviously, I still have a piece of paper. It's just in a more condensed notebook. I filled up a good chunk of this. Each page was a episode or like 2, and just like questions and papers and stuff like that. But definitely going to be a great thing to look back on. It's just, you know, it's changed a lot, you know. Excuse me. It's weird to think that the first episode I was thinking out loud. I was like, wow, I'm going to be doing this. I want to be proud of this. And it was fantastic. I think the first 4 episodes probably the best episodes I've made. Like how thinking of methodically, but in my opinion, I feel like the more I did this daily, the less intrigued I was to do it and less excited I was to do it. And when you get, I wasn't burnt out of it, but whenever you get to a point where you're not crazy into it and you're not waking up and like excited to do something anymore, I think it's time to stop that. And I think right now is the perfect time. The last couple episodes, I can't really even say the last 5 to 10 episodes, I haven't seemed like I was really there when it comes to being heart to heart with you guys. It feels like I was just doing this to get my grade, and I was just doing this just because. Now, deep in my heart, I know I'm not, because I really want to do this. I'm a journalist at heart, and I love the whole thing of being able to document history. And in this case, I think I've done that successfully. With all the things like the live Zoom calls I've done, talking to all sorts of people, from my head coach of tennis to my teachers to my classmates, my constituents, I can never say that word, to even that news reporter from the Kansas City Star. I believe I have done a great job of just reaching out, breaking new ground, and then improving my journalism journalism skills, and being able to communicate my thoughts authentically, and just using my head to think about what I'm about to say it, and then convey thoughts in a well-ordered manner. Just going back to that first episode, it's weird to see. Like, I'm definitely going to be way more calm this episode, but that's just because watching that first episode, bro, I was super, super calm and laid back. I don't know what the heck was up with me, but maybe I was just scared to be in front of a camera and just be scared to be myself. I mean, obviously I'm in front of the camera all the time. But I think I was nervous, and I was wanting to be someone else than I was at that time. Uh-oh. Did my camera software close? Can you guys still see me? That's not good. Of course, the final episode, that's when you decide to crash. Give me 2 seconds. Here we go, guys. I deeply apologize. Wow, that actually sucks. I think it's my cable. Holy nuts, dude. This sucks. What in the world's going on? Here we go. Dude. Of course, this happens in the last freaking episode. I think my battery was just dead. Okay, that's cool, I guess. Yeah, you should be able to see me pretty soon now. Now that's a way to derail a conversation. If I've seen one or not. All right, I should be back now. For all my live viewers, I really appreciate you staying there and not leaving. Wow, that's kind of embarrassing that happened. And that's maybe a sign from somebody telling me that it's time to end the podcast, you see. Yeah, thanks for sticking with that, my 2 viewers here. That's another part of my reason. But just going back, talking about, do I have audio? Sign from dude, this whole thing has been janking my jank right now. All right, I'm gonna just assume I have audio. I see my audio waves. YouTube tells me I don't have audio right now. If not, this is just a horrible last episode. But yeah, going back through it, I think doing live Zoom interviews definitely improved my game. Throughout this podcast, I think I've definitely changed a lot. I've grown out my facial hair. I shaved it because I got tired of it. I had a middle part in the first episode. I've been keep doing the middle part, but like right now it's a little different just because I didn't want to I don't know. My hair's getting way too long at this point, and I desperately need a haircut. So I think this was a great way to, um, just express myself. My hair, I think I really like this hairstyle that I've somehow done. I don't know why. But yeah, just compared to now, I think it's definitely changed a lot. The thumbnails changed. It used to look a lot like Joe Rogan's thumbnails, then it turned into what they are now because Ben made me a nice thumbnail for the show, and it's just I'm glad. Okay, good. I do have audio. I'm glad that it's the way it is now. But yeah, dude, it's just this has been a trip. I've learned a lot. I've learned plenty of interview skills. My ability to communicate is now much better. It's definitely changed. Like I said, it started with me being very slow and methodical and thinking about what I'm about to say, kind of like how I am now, to it just started getting crazier and off the wall. And I attribute that as a good thing because I was able to be more me and not less of this actor, I guess. So I'm a very off the wall crazy person when it comes to like just talking, and I'm never on one subject. I keep switching stuff around. And I think I just moved away from my roots at the very beginning, but I'm glad I kind of circled back, and now I'm just kind of slow, methodical, and thinking about what I'm about to say, but yet still being myself and still thinking my heart. I'm not trying to filter anything, filter life, or filter anything, specific. But yeah, I've definitely learned to conduct interviews. I've learned a better ability to communicate. My video production, especially live, is increased significantly. I know how to, like do live shows. I mean, that's a bad statement. I wrote it down before my camera crashed during the middle of my episode, but it happens. But yeah, I'm just before I whatever, talk about too much about just what I've learned. I've learned so much, and this has been a great opportunity. I just want to circle back on to really my purpose for canceling and retiring this show. And my number one purpose for this show was obviously to just keep a log of what it's like growing up during this time and how life has changed throughout this time, and really just have the ability to look back and be like, wow, I was able to do this, but now I'm not. Wow, I was able to do this, but now I am. It's just that the progression. I think you can really see that progression every episode. And for my future self, if I ever watch these again, which I probably won't until like I'm 72 or something crazy, it's going to be fantastic to see. And I'm just so happy that I've done this, and I'm just so glad I've done this. And now just my purpose for ending, I'm ending it because quarantine's ending. Like I said, with Clay County, the shelter in place was lifted. Now we can hang out with people in groups of 25 or less, practicing social distancing still, but social distancing and quarantine are two different things. I've also seen a drop in viewership. I'll just open up my analytics real quick. Just going through the show started off hot. I'm going to be honest. I'm just going to be 100% honest with you guys, speaking from the heart. The show started off hot, like 151 views. Then it just continued to taper down. And it had its peaks, its valleys. It averaged about 20 viewers or so, but then around episode 28, it started tapering down to like 10 viewers, 7 viewers, and it just averaged around 10, 11 viewers. And I love all those viewers, and I love all the people that haven't watched my videos. If you don't watch my videos, I really don't care. But I think it's about time, because like all things, if it's going to start dying down, why should I keep putting effort and time into it whenever I can move this effort somewhere else and do something else? I've been wanting to make a short film. I've been wanting to do a bunch of little things, make videos. For my broadcasting, I'm going to make just a high school recap video. I've basically documented every moment in high school with a film camera, just filming and taking pictures and stuff. And I think I'm going to just make a quick montage about just how great high school's been. And it's the end of an era. I wrote about this yesterday, but in my journal, but it's really just been an end of an era for me. My dad and I were selling off our trailers and all our camping stuff, so we're done doing that. Um, some wicked thunder just happened. It's definitely time that we do that. I need to move on, go on to college. It's time. As time goes on, life changes, and it's just that end. My best friend moved from her house. Now, I mean, she moved down the street. She moved to the other side of Liberty, but like the house we've always hung out at, it's weird to think that that's happening. Senior years basically ended. It didn't end on the note any of us really wanted it to, but it's the end of an era. It feels like, this is what I said in my journal. The best way to describe this feeling is that it's like at a movie. Whenever they're like hammering in a for sale sign, people are leaving, going to college. It feels like that. Like it's happy. It's a bittersweet ending, but it's time. You can't live high school for forever, and I think it's just time that I move on. I can move on from this, and I can just have closure with that the high school recap video. Hopefully that gives me my closure of high school, and I can just move on and think about it. So yeah, that's really been my purposes for this podcast and purposes for ending. Will I continue this? What if these are some scenarios I've been going over. What if we lift this quarantine, we go back into it, and then people start getting sick again and we have to go back into quarantine? Would I consider rebooting Trevantine? Probably not. I'm not a person that likes to end something and bring it back. If it's the end, it's the end. That's all I gotta say, and that's on Jaw. I hate that I just said that. No, that's on, like, that's just period. I'm done with that. I'm going to move on. Will I continue doing another podcast? Definitely, dude. The podcast I had before this was Trev Talks. Trev Talks was very successful. I loved interviewing people. I only had like 4 or 5 episodes. But those 4 or 5 episodes are great. They're fantastic. They're on Spotify right now. And I definitely need to fix my Spotify because I had Trevantine in there and then it just kind of got mixed up in the mess. But I'll definitely continue to do Trev Talks with less of a news focus. So rather than just talking about the quarantine, talking about the news, I think going back to Trev Talks and getting away from Trevantine will expand my ability to cover new stuff. I can talk about conspiracy theories. I can talk about film. I can talk about everything. I feel like having to try and tie things into this quarantine kind of limited me to what I could do. And in the case of the last like 6 episodes, I've been stretching, bro. Like the cinema episode, one of my favorite episodes I've done with Jack, or just one of my favorite episodes I've done. I had to say, I've been watching a lot of movies lately. I've been watching lots of cinema. Let's talk about cinema now. Or the one with Coach Smith, whenever I was like, we got to obviously not have tennis season anymore, but now we got to move into what he thinks about life. One of my favorite interviews I've done, but I think just moving away from the whole quarantine thing and then moving back into Trev Talks, where it's just Trev talking, is a fantastic thing. And it's probably the thing to do. Maybe I can do it once a week. Maybe I can do it every other day. I don't really know. I haven't really decided yet. I just think it's time for me to hang up my hat on Trevantine and just move on, man. So, like the Doors song goes, this is the end, man. If you guys have never heard that song, go listen to it. It was featured in the cult classic Apocalypse Now by Francis Ford Coppola. Yeah, that's who made it. Fantastic way to start a movie by saying this is the end. But it's a good song. Listen to it. I'm trying to think if there's any final thoughts or anything I want to cover real quick. I would say, like, I've had a great time, fantastic learning experience, and just a good time overall. And I don't want to keep just nailing it into your heads that this is a good time in my life, and I'm glad that I've done this, because I am. And you guys know this. I've said it 1,000 times this episode, but it's time to move on. And this was the way it was for a while. Can't really say it is anymore because life's going back to normal a little bit, at least for me in my life. But yeah, keep washing your hands, guys. Stay safe, and I mean this sincerely and dearly. If you guys ever need anything, my email is in my YouTube like description thing. So just email trevorlfilms@gmail.com. Maybe I can start doing more Trev talks. Maybe I can change some things up. I'll just keep producing videos and try and keep up my channel. I did this to grow as a person. I did this to grow as a content creator, and I think it's definitely led me to better content that I've made in a long time. It sounds like I'm on the verge of tears. I'm really not. But at the same time, it kind of hurts me inside to have to end this, because I've never had a show like this. Never had to formally end something. But yeah, on that note, guys, just stay healthy, stay sane, and I really don't know where I was going with that, because I'm not want to see you guys. I catch you guys on the north side, at least for Trevantine. But until the next time I see you guys again, and next time I just sit down and talk to you guys, I want you guys to enjoy life. Don't forget your roots. Don't take anything for granted. I think that's the number one lesson that everyone's learned through this quarantine, is just don't take things for granted and live life, man, because life is precious. So keep on rocking in the free world, guys, and hope you guys have a fantastic day, fantastic year, and let's see how we pull out of this whole COVID situation. So until next time, this has been Trevantine. This is Trevor Larrett signing off.